All right, today we're going to dive into something pretty profound. It's this idea that our toughest, most painful experiences, well, what if they could actually become the foundation for our greatest strengths?
So let's just get right to it. I want you to think for a second about the hardest thing you've ever had to face. Really think about it. Now, could that experience, that pain, actually be a source of your greatest power? For a lot of people, when you survive something really, really tough, it's not just about getting back to normal. It can't be. That experience changes you, right? It kind of reshapes you from the inside out. And it often sets the stage for becoming, well, something more. Okay, so there's actually a name for this. It's called post-traumatic growth, or PTG for short. And this is so important. It's not about pretending the pain didn't happen or just erasing it. No way. It's all about what you can build from it. It's like using the rubble to create a new foundation. So you might be wondering, how does that even work? And look, it's not some kind of magic trick. There's actual science behind how our brains can forge strength out of struggle. So let's get into it. Let's break down how this happens. Okay, so one of the biggest, most fundamental shifts happens in what psychologists call your locus of control. It's a fancy term for who you think is in charge. See, for a lot of us, before a big challenge, we're kind of just passengers in our own lives, right? Life just happens to us. But when you have to navigate something really hard, it forces you to grab the steering wheel. You start to develop an internal locus of control. You realize, wait a minute, I can actually influence what happens next. I happen to my life. And that shift from passenger to driver, that's everything. It's a huge piece of this growth puzzle. And that leads us to another really cool idea, stress inoculation. The best way to think about it is like a vaccine for your mind, seriously. Every time you face a challenge and get through it, you're basically training your mind and your body. You're building up this psychological immunity, this resilience that makes you that much stronger for the next thing life throws at you. So what does this path actually look like? Well, it turns to follow a few key steps. First, obviously, the adversity strikes. That's the challenge. Then comes the really hard part, the psychological struggle, the wrestling with what happened. But here's the pivot point, the most important step, meaning making. This is when you actively start looking for the lessons, for some kind of purpose in the chaos. And it's out of that search, that's where the new growth really begins. It's a real process. All right, so we've talked about the how, the science behind it. Now let's talk about the what. What are these actual powers? What are the specific strengths that get forged in that fire? Okay, first up, we have what's called forged resilience. And I love that word forged, because this isn't the kind of resilience you're just born with. Nope. This is the kind you earn through fire. So what does this actually look like in real life? Well, it means your threshold for stress is just higher. You're the person who stays calm when chaos breaks out at work or during a family crisis. And maybe the most important part is this deep, gut-level knowledge that, hey, I've been through worse and I survived. I can handle this. You bounce back quicker, not because things don't hurt, but because you've had the practice. All right, power number 2. This one is a direct result of having to deal with unpredictable situations. It's hyper-awareness. If you've ever had to walk on eggshells or navigate a really tense environment, you know what I'm talking about. It's like you develop the sixth sense, a superpower for reading people and rooms. You can feel the vibe shift in a meeting before anyone says a thing. You pick up on the tiny changes in tone of voice, body language. You might just call it a gut feeling, but what it really is, it's a finely tuned, highly trained awareness. It's an incredible tool to have. And that brings us to our third power. And honestly, this might be the most life-changing of them all. It's self-authorship. And this ties right back to what we were saying earlier about going from being the passenger to being the driver of your own life. What this means is you develop this powerful sense of personal agency. You realize your past doesn't get to write your future. You do. It's that moment you finally take ownership of your story. Maybe it looks like setting that boundary you've been avoiding for years. Or maybe it's quitting the job that drains you to do something you actually care about. It's that click, that moment you truly get it. You are the architect. You are the author. So here's the thing. It's one thing to know you have these powers. That's a huge step. But the real game changer is when you learn to use them on purpose, when you decide to step into that role as the architect of your own life. There's this incredible quote from the poet Rumi that just says it all. The wound is the place where the light enters you. It's this beautiful idea that our broken places aren't just scars, they're openings. They're how something new and powerful gets in. So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. That hard experience, it's not a liability. It's a crucible. It's where your strength was forged. Your resilience, that's not a hope or a wish. It's a proven fact from your own life story. Your awareness is a skill you can hone and use. And most of all, the pen is in your hand now. The story is yours to write. And that leaves us with one last really important question. Look, you already made it through the hardest part. You survived. The foundation is there, solid and tested. So the only question left is, what are you going to build?